I'm actually vaguely sympathetic to this approach, though I acknowledge its weaknesses. But it is a cool idea to try to make these big overarching theories of society, and we'll have some of those in this class. And you can judge for yourself if that approach really works. Sociological social psychologists primarily use experiments as their empirical methodology when they go do their empirical research, but they don't just use experiments. They also do surveys, interviews, ethnographies, and so on. They're focused on some of the bigger topics, right? Because they're interested in the relationship between the group and the individual level. So they do research on power, status, identity, roles, organizational behavior, social exchange. A little bit bigger level of analysis. And one criticism, or maybe you would consider this good, is it's an area that's referred to often as very scientific. Has anybody heard this word before, scientific? So scientific is when you sort of imitate the style of science. And sometimes they get a little bit obsessed with actually really scientific and stuff, rather than just being scientific and using the scientific method. In this class, we will be addressing the area of social psychology as a science. So we will be using the scientific method, or seeing how well the practitioners use the scientific method to make the case for their points. We'll be doing that all the time. That will be sort of assumed in this class, that social psychology is trying to be a science, and we'll learn it as such. But like I'm saying, sociological social psychology sometimes go a little overboard, and I'm sure I'm guilty of that as well. Psychological social psychology is different. It has its own strengths and shortcomings and features and foibles and whatnot. Psychological social psychology has very little theory, or the theories tend to be effects or biases or tendencies, like some sort of A to B relationship, not these larger, interlocking, complicated theories they're trying to describe a lot at once. They're smaller, like effects and tendencies. Psychological social psychology, as you might guess, almost exclusively uses experiments. It's also higher media profile. They write these popular books that are really well received. They also get their research like in the New York Times and stuff like that because they think they're so cool, and they are pretty cool. And it focused on a lot of topics like attribution, self-perception, social cognition, non-conscious influences on behavior, these sort of things that happen in the course of everyday life. I guess I should have finished talking about this. Oh, okay. Other stuff that sociological social psychology is interested in, because I skipped this, include social structure and personality, mental health, the life course, emotions, ethnomethodology. Ethnomethodology is the biggest word that I know. I cannot define it for you. It's actually a joke that this is like this famously undefined word. You have to go to Howard Garfinkel at UCLA to find out what it means. Okay, so feel free to do that. Okay, psychological social psychology, much more tied to perception, attributions, and cognition, somewhat lower level of analysis, so it's more individual level research, and it is also very interested in being scientific and using the scientific method, but maybe not so hung up on it. And why is that? Probably because in psychology, everybody's kind of doing science, right? Everybody's doing experiments, testing claims about the way mind works, the way cognition works, the influence of genes on psychology, whatever. So everybody in psychology is trying to do science. In sociology, whether or not we should be taking a scientific approach is more disputed and contested. So in sociology, they get kind of hung up on, we're doing science, and you're not, or whatever. They're really hung up on. I'm in this area, so I'm guilty of all these criticisms. Okay, so unlike other areas in sociology, but like most in psychology, social psychology is very into being scientific. What is science? Science is a man pouring crude oil back and forth between graduated cylinders forever. That's roughly what science looks like. And that's what the experiment you'll participate in will be like. You'll just be asked to do that over and over. Okay, so what is science? Well, science is most of all people who use the scientific method. It's a social undertaking where a bunch of people get together and use the scientific method to test claims about how the world works and see how true they are, and then assess levels of confidence in these claims. So scientific method, here's a definition, a systematic process for evaluating claims about empirical observations and then organizing conclusions into cumulative knowledge. So what are the steps to the sociological method? Or sorry, the scientific method. Okay, step one, cut a hole in a box. Just step one. Step one. Develop some general idea, some claim, some theory about how you think the world works. Then operationalize it by making testable hypotheses. So you might have some big claim, like people have overconfidence in their behavior, and then you'll have some specific operationalized claim, like in this experiment, people will have overconfidence in their behavior in this specific way. Why do you operationalize it? So that you can then test that claim. You test this specific hypothesis using some sort of data that you would have. It doesn't have to be an experiment. Those experiments are a very useful methodology. It could be some sort of survey data, or you could go out in the world and directly observe people, or interview them, or what have you. Then you derive conclusions, ideally very modest ones, from your findings, and you publish. Or you don't have to publish, but you'll not get tenure if you don't. Then don't I know it? Then you return to step one and you do it all over again for like 35, 40 years, and you learn to love it, hopefully. So you general idea, operationalize, test that specific claim, interpret those data, then come back or maybe revise your general claim in light of the data and do it again. And that's roughly the scientific method. Okay. Another thing that'll be useful, I think, is to have some kind of basic understanding of the philosophy of science. I love the philosophy of science. That's why this is here. I think it's really freaking interesting. Other people don't always. Okay, so we'll do it in like 2 slides to spare you the depths of philosophy of science that I could potentially go on and on about. Okay, so the significant figures in the history of philosophy of science. The first 2 that kind of come up on the scene that sort of establish what science is, what the rules of science are going to be, are Descartes and Francis Bacon. Does anybody know which one is which? This one is Descartes. Okay, and that one's Francis Bacon. It's very easy to remember them because Descartes had really bad hair and Francis Bacon had an awesome hat. Okay. So Descartes' big contribution to the philosophy of science was deduction. He said the way we're going to do this, the way we're going to generate new knowledge, is by deducing conclusions from what he called, or what people since call first principles. Okay, so he says, well, what is the line that he's most famous for saying, Descartes? I think that's where I am. Excellent. So what he did was he tried to derive some kind of basic principles and prove a whole bunch of things from the things he had high confidence in. So he said, well, I find myself here thinking, therefore I must exist. And that was sort of his first deduction. Then, if you read Discourse on Method, or whatever it was that appears, I think it's Discourse on Method, you'll see that his derivations get increasingly wacky and ridiculous after that. They just don't really make sense. And in a way, Descartes is a sort of gleaming example of how you can't just deduce everything you would want to know about the world from first principles. But nonetheless, in science, we often do deduction, right? We say A implies B, B implies C, therefore A implies C. And it was important to Descartes to establish the role of propositional logic in science. The next kind of significant person in philosophy of science is Francis Bacon, the guy with the great hat. He emphasized the role of data and experimentation, especially in his philosophy of science. And he said, this deduction stuff is ridiculous. I mean, just look at all the crazy propositions that Descartes came up with. The better way to do it would be induction. We'll look at the data, and then we'll induce some sort of general observations about the world, some sort of general principles about how things work from the data, okay? And in particular, we should do lots of experimentation. So he was the first sort of guy to triumph experimentation, the champion experimentation. And actually, I went to England at one point, to London, at one point in the fall, and saw the site, the exact site where he did his last experiment. This guy loved experiments so much that he was like on a carriage ride in the snow in London. It's a very beautiful image, I know, you're getting into this. And then he got out, and he wanted to test the claim that, like, chicken doesn't degrade or whatever, or go bad at colder temperatures. So he got a chicken carcass, filled it with snow, and then had another one that didn't, and tested his claim that way. But in doing so, he caught pneumonia and died convalescing in London. But you can go, I know, it's a very funny story. It's very funny the way Francis Bacon died. And you yourself can go to London and experience this for yourself. If you're anything like me, you'll be so excited, it'll be ridiculous. Okay, third really significant philosopher of science, David Hume, comes along in the 19th century and points out, shouldn't be anybody's surprise, science is really imperfect. And we don't really establish things with 100% credibility. It's always possible that our claims will be wrong. And therefore, our confidence in these principles, these ideas that we have, is always probabilistic, okay? The more tests the claim passes, the better the support for it, the more confidence we have in the finding. But we never reach 100%, right? So we think we had it down, the law of gravity, right? Isaac Newton seemed like he had it all straight, and he did have it straight. He had 99% of the story right, but then Einstein comes along in the early 20th century and says, well, you didn't quite get it all right, and it turned out even the law of gravity was relative. So David Hume says you need to always have probabilistic confidence in your findings, and nowhere is that more true perhaps than in social science. Okay, cool. And if you take just these philosophers of science and put them together, you get a pretty good synthetic philosophy of science right there. Because in reality, what we do in contemporary science is we use deduction and induction. We don't use the pure form of either, and we use inductive empirical knowledge to test claims that are deduced, and then we have degrees of confidence in those claims. So then, and this stuff, I mean, you really don't get this many places, but I'm obsessed with it. Then in the 20th century, things got really wacky. Here's this guy, Karl Popper, who I really like. He's like a hero of mine. That's really dorky. Karl Popper had this idea of falsifiability, that this was a critical criterion in science, that you have to be making claims that there is some pattern of data where they could be disproven. And if you're making claims where there isn't a pattern of data that could disprove it, then you're not making real scientific claims. So he would say that Marx's claim that the only way to understand society is in terms of class struggle, he would say that's really not a falsifiable claim. That's more like an orienting statement, a sort of philosophical statement. You can't really dispute it. If you did, people would say, no, really, the only way to understand history is class struggle. But he would say other claims of Marx's are scientific, like religion's the opium of masses, that the more religious you are, the less class conscious you'll be. Well, you could go out and test that, right? And there could be some pattern of data you would get when you tested it that would, give you less confidence in it. I've done that. I've tested that claim. It didn't go very well, and I had less confidence in that claim afterwards. So that's his idea, this falsifiability criterion. It's kind of counterintuitive. You have to have some claim that could be wrong in order to be really making scientific knowledge. He also has another idea that's a good one too, which is that theory competition is central to how science works. And it's essentially the boxing champ model of science. That theories sort of go to battle with one another, and whichever ones work best for describing reality are the ones that we accept at that time. It's always a probabilistic acceptance, but those are the ones that we accept at the time. So, for example, in the 16th and 17th centuries, there were debates about whether, or especially the 16th century, there were debates about whether the Earth or the Sun was the center of the universe. Whether we should have a geocentric or heliocentric model of the solar system. And why is it that the heliocentric model of the solar system won this boxing match? Well, it described the data better. The geocentric model of the universe just didn't account for the movement of the stars in the sky as well as the heliocentric model did. And so that's why we came to accept it. Other philosophers of science, we won't spend a lot of time on this. Karl Hempel, really cool. He said scope conditions matter. You need to state when your propositions are true because nothing's true all the time. Water may boil at 100 degrees centigrade at sea level, but it won't at the top of a mountain. Nothing's true all the time. You have to have scope conditions that modify and clarify when your claims are true. Thomas Kuhn, he made a contribution. He was essentially a sociologist, and he was here at Berkeley, and he said that science is a social process, and conformity pressures suppress creativity. So he's kind of coming along like Hume did and saying science is imperfect. It's not a perfect process. He said, actually, he had this really good idea that like theoretical programs and paradigms, they don't tend to go away just because the data fails. Their main proponents have to die off, was his claim. And when they die off, then you can get kind of quick revolutionary change in science. Then Imre Lakatos, great name, his contribution was that empirical tests are fallible. You can't just look at the data to make conclusions about theories. Sometimes the data will not support your theory, but it'll be your data that sucks and your theory was good, which then we're just down the rabbit hole, we don't know what to do. And then Stephen Toulmin, he's really cool talking about counterfactual theories. This is starting to go on. Okay. Okay, so what are some more important things about philosophy of science? Often, there is more than one theory or explanation for the observed facts, and the two theories might account equally well for the facts. However, what do we do then? We apply the principle of parsimony, and we go with the theory that's simpler. And going back to the geocentric versus heliocentric models of the universe, which I'm sure you were hoping I would return to that, and I'm going to go back to that. That's good. So, in this case, they kept modifying the geocentric model of the universe by, as they charted the movement of stars, they would predict as they would move to the heavens, they would find that it didn't conform very well to their geocentric model. So what did they add to their theories? Does anybody know the word? Epicycles. So they would add epicycles, because they would find sometimes stars can go back in the sky in a way that doesn't seem to make sense if they're going around the Earth. If everything's going around the Earth, nothing should then move in retrograde motion. It should just go around the Earth, right? In a sort of linear way. And so to account for this, they said, oh, well, things are going around, but then they have little roundness within the roundness, and they're doing little epicycles. And they did this for hundreds of years. They just modified the theory with epicycles. And as a result, the theory always accounted for all the data. It always described the world perfectly, but it became increasingly unparsimonious, right? It became a huge theory, and before you know it, they were claiming to explain the world with basically data point by data point. But then Copernicus comes along and says, no, I have one very simple theory that accounts for all the data. You don't need epicycles. And we went with that one because it was simpler and more parsimonious. And this is the principle of Occam's razor. And Occam said, entities are not to be multiplied beyond necessity, which is basically that we should explain the world in the fewest terms possible. Some other good quotes about science. Einstein said, the supreme goal of all theory is to make the irreducible basic elements as simple and as few as possible without having to surrender the adequate representation of a single datum of experience. This is the same idea, right? This is essentially Occam's razor. You want to explain the world, describe the world as in as few terms as possible. And that's what a powerful theory is. It's a theory with very few terms, but great breadth and scope of explanation. Another aspect of science as it's practiced is captured, I think, really well by this quote by Richard Feynman. He said that science is the bending over backwards to prove yourself wrong, or he said something like that. And I really, really love Richard Feynman. I've read all his autobiographies. I encourage you to as well. He's really awesome. What is Feynman talking about here? What he's saying is that a good scientist is intensely self-critical, and a good social psychologist is also intensely self-critical. And I want you, as you read these articles over the course of the semester, to read them with that same skeptical, critical eye. Don't leave behind your skepticism just because I'm telling you this is interesting. Not that you would. You're all extraordinarily intelligent people. But keep relentlessly criticizing the work, because a good social psychologist will do that for you. And you'll notice in a lot of these papers that the social psychologist will say, okay, I've said this, and I've given you these data, but you might still be concerned about this explanation of the data rather than mine, or you might be concerned about this problem with this experiment, and then they'll do a follow-up study to address that. And that is a very convincing thing, right? Because you know that they're out to attack their own work and criticize it before you even get to it. So science is the bending over backwards to prove yourself wrong. It's kind of counterintuitive. Why do you want to prove yourself wrong? Because you want to get it right. So you want to be relentlessly critical of your claims and conclusions. My philosophy of science is a little bit simpler than all that, thank God, right? So there's two levels, basically. There's a theoretical level, general ideas about stuff, technical terms, stuff. Maybe you'll have scope conditions about when these general claims apply and when they don't. Maybe you'll have several interlocking ideas, so you have a pretty elaborate theory. Maybe you just have one idea. Maybe you just have one very simple idea. Then, a level beneath that is the empirical level. At the empirical level, we have data, and we evaluate the idea in one or more specific circumstances to see how well it works. So general claims, and then data, and we go back and forth between the two. Clarity is a must. If you're interested in the role of clarity in science, I encourage you to Google the Sokol affair. Go to Wikipedia, that's where all knowledge lies. Check it out, it's very interesting. I'm not going to go into it here. Also, we have degrees of confidence in claims. Science is not the way some people make it out to be, where scientists are telling you, we know this all the time for sure, and it'll never be reversed. That's not real science. Science involves degrees of confidence in scientific claims. Also, many empirical methods are useful. You don't just use experiments. You can use other sources of data. And again, science lies in the interplay between the general and the specific. General claims and the empirical data we use to test them. Okay, a brief history of social psychology. We're really making progress now. Okay. So we covered like 2,000 years now, we're going back to the years. Okay, so people have been doing social psychology for a long time. Social psychology is observations about the human condition in relation to society, how humans give rise to social order, how people are fundamentally social animals, and the causes of their behavior. If that's what social psychology is, then people have been doing it forever, right? Early philosophers like Plato and Aristotle, but then also Renaissance era people like Machiavelli and then Montaigne, writers like Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, and more recently philosophers like Nietzsche have been essentially doing social psychology for centuries. And it only became systematically studied or proclaimed a scientific area at the very end of the 19th century. The first two books that were written about social psychology both came out in 1908. One was a psych book and one was a sociology book. Okay, but social psychology really kind of starts with Freud's book, and it's kind of the first identifiable work of social psychology, even though I think it's kind of crap. Is Sigmund Freud's Group Psychology and the Analysis of the Ego, and that is the last time I will mention that book because I don't like it. Feel free to read it if you want. I did. Then you get late 19th and early 20th century sociology and psychology that sort of increasingly doing social psychology without talking about it, without saying that they are. So you have figures like Zimmel, John Watson from psychology, Max Weber in sociology. They're basically doing social psychology. They're not calling it that yet because they won't call it that yet until 1908. And then in 1898, okay, I just went back in time 10 years, whatever. In 1898, you get the very first social psychology experiment, which was on social facilitation. Facilitation. It was conducted at Indiana University in Bloomington by this guy Triplett. Shh, no talking, please. And this is a chart of the findings of the very first social psychology experiment. You are responsible for this on the test. You have to be able to trace that on just freehand. It's not that fun. Okay, so, but I tried. So this is Triplett. Basically what he did was he had people wind like a reel, like they were fishing, although there were no fish. That's kind of boring. That's one thing you find with social psychology experiments. Kind of boring for the participants. So they wound these reels, and then they would either do them in the presence of other people or alone, and he had this idea that he was testing of social facilitation, that when you're in a social setting, you'll wind it faster, it'll facilitate good behavior or whatever. He wasn't very specific about why social facilitation works, but he was right. As you might guess, he was totally right. And I think, I want to say this line is that somebody alone, and this is people together or something. Who knows? And we don't put your name anymore on the findings, by the way, so that's totally screwed up. We don't do that. So, and this, just to show you like how different but also not different social psychology is now, this is a graph from a conformity study that you'll be reading, I think, next week. Well, you know better than me, you'll your syllabus. And this is some work by Matt Salganik, who's a good friend of mine, really cool guy. And he did this online experiment with like tens of thousands of participants, like downloading music under different circumstances. And this is like the graph of how they did it. I don't even understand this, but if we were talking about the paper, I promise you I would. But anyway, it's kind of cool that it's like, on the one hand, really different, right? Like this graph looks way, way more fancy and carefully done. It's generated by a computer. It's got tens of thousands of data points rather than like Michael, Sally, and Jen, winding a fishing reel. But at the same time, it's not that different, right? It's kind of the same basic thing, and we're still doing the same thing. And accordingly, in this class, you'll be seeing findings from across like 100 and some years, and we'll still find relevance in work that was done in the 1930s, as well as stuff that's being done now, or I'll try to get you to see that. Okay, so the history of social psychology continued. Around 1900, 1908, it branches off into sociology and psychology branches. These two branches communicate with each other some, and they gradually don't, and then they start passing each other in the hallways and like kissing at each other, and like making fun of each other's children, and like low shit like that. In sociology, from like 1900 to 1940, you get the rise of symbolic interactionism, which we'll talk about over the course of the class. People like Charles Horton Cooley, George Herbert Mead, Herbert Bloomer, who sort of founded our sociology department at Berkeley, and was a professional football player, by the way. I actually looked up his statistics. He was on a professional football team that scored 1 touchdown in an entire season, like 11 games. But he was really good at sociology. Okay. Which will tell you something about sociology football, I don't know. But so then from like 1950 to 1990, you get the identity theory debates, which we'll talk about in this class. People debating about whether or not there's a self or if there isn't a self. Should we understand the situation or personality and so on? From 1960 to 2000, you get the rise of exchange theory. People debating about how best to think of social exchanges between people. 1965 to present, sales characteristics theory. More recently, there's been a greater diversification, but then also theory integration. None of that's meaningful to you. You're just like, what are you talking about? Okay. The history of psychology, psychological social psychology, also interesting, a little bird's eye view. From 1920 to 1940, Kurt Lewin came to the US State University of Iowa, talked about field theory. That's Montu stuff that we will cover. 1937, you get the famous Sharif conformity experiment. Is anybody familiar with the Sharif conformity experiment? Please raise your hand. Okay, good, because we're going to get in this class, so most of you will be new. 1951, the Ash conformity experiment. In 1957, 1959, through the 60s, people were obsessed with cognitive dissonance theory. They ran a variety of really screwed up experiments on 400 graduates such as yourselves. In 1958, Fritz Heider invented balance theory. That was awesome for people like me. In 1961, the Milgram obedience experiment started. Have you seen the Milgram obedience film? Raise your hand, please, if you have. Oh my God. You will have the option to see it again, of course. Of course. From 1970 to present, there's been this extreme diversification and explosion of research. Psychological social psychology is now an enormous area, publishes just a huge number of articles every month. No one person reads all of it anymore. It's impossible. It's this huge area, and it's very fascinating. It's also, I can tell you, in terms of numbers of people and numbers of studies and numbers of papers produced, sociological social psychology is far smaller than psychological social psychology. But over the course of the semester, I'm going to try and demonstrate to you that both have something to offer and both are really awesome. Okay, so as we wrap this up, should you take this class? That's the big question, right? Do you want to take this class? At this point, you're probably like, well, the teacher is a big turnoff, but the material seems interesting. That's fair. You're gonna think that for the next 4 months. I would compare your decision to take this class. I would humbly compare this to your decision to stay in the matrix or not, right? It's no less than that. You should be very suspicious and skeptical at this point. Please don't pack up your books. We're not done yet. Okay, so you have two options, right? You can stay in a world of ignorance and illusion and not know social psychology. How did you make it to here, really? Not knowing social psychology. I have no idea. So you can take another class. What will happen? Your girlfriend or boyfriend will leave you. You will be forced to drop out of school because you'll lose all intrinsic desire for academic achievement. That's inevitable. This is based on data. I wouldn't lie to you. This is the people who've opted out of this class in the past. This is what's happening. You'll become a total failure. And, that's up to you. That's all up to you. Alternatively, you can take the class. You'll become more attractive briefly upon the decision.